Hi, everyone. Welcome to Live with Janome. I'm Hein, and I'll be putting the camera on in a minute here. Let me see. Get this done and come over here. Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Hein, embroidery software specialist for Janome America, and today is number 5 in our series of Zip Pouch of the Month. So we started in January, and I do have some pouches here that we've done in the past. Let me just bring them all forward. And we started out simple, something like this. This wasn't lined or anything, but it did have some little loops on the side and our zipper, some little embroidery. And then we moved on to lining. So this one has lining. And of course, I had to throw in a little slip pocket. And of course, we have a loop with a split ring on this one. And then we did top zip. Oh, no, we didn't do tops yet. No, we didn't do top zippers yet. We did this one. So this one was a zipper on the inside like that. And I made it quite a large one here. So, and the slip pocket in the back. And then we went to top zippers. So these are top zippers. And on this one, I put a little pocket on the back, but I put a snap on there. So we have the zipper along the top rather than laying along here. Here's another view of the same thing. Plus, I put the D-rings on there if we wanted to have it as a, like a crossbody bag. We could use it that way too. So let me get my comments on here, and I'll be able to answer those either as I go, or I'll come back afterwards and answer any of those comments as I come to them. So today we're doing a brand new bag. This one has 2 zippers, though I know we had one that has 2 zippers. This one has 2 zippers, and it looks like this. So it has a zipper on this bottom part right here. There we go. On this part, and also one up here. And the bottom one, when you unzip it, it is a little pocket. And then on the top one, this opens to the full piece right here. There we go. And it's all lined. I did put a little plain embroidery on there, just some line embroidery. It does have batting in it. There's our back. Now I forgot to put I didn't have my little mark in there to put my D-rings. So my first one doesn't have D-rings, but you can see where they would go if you had it. So I'm going to show you how we create that in the software. And we start out, and I do have my camera set up. I have some of it started already, and I want to walk through a couple of things with you because it's a little bit of where you place things. And that's always difficult for me to explain to people. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that. So I'm going to go to the machine at some point and show you that. So I did write up some directions. They haven't been well proofed, so there's probably some little errors in them, and I apologize for that. As I go, I will repost them with if there's any errors that I need to. But they are located on the Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page. And then once you go there, if you're not a member already, you just join. And then once you go there, along the top, there's a little spot that says guides. Or if you're on your phone, there's a little three-bar menu. Go under there. It says guides. That's where all our videos are, and they're all organized. And we have one there that says Zip Pouch of the Month. I will be putting these directions. They're loose on the page right now. They're just under files on the page. And then they'll eventually be with the video right there. So you'll be able to find everything together. So I go through in the directions. These aren't really full directions. You have to use these along with the video to learn how to do this. I want to inspire you to be creative. Maybe instead of, this is a little challenging having a zipper on an angle like that. It's a little bit of a challenge, and I'll show you why. But you could always make yours go straight across if you don't want to. You don't have to do it on an angle like I did. So that's really up to you. You don't have to add any embroidery. You could add something different there if you want to. But you do want to remember to leave that spot in your sequence menu. Put something in there as a reminder. Sometimes I type decoration in the spot where I know that's where I'm going to have to stop and put embroidery. So that's kind of how I work. I also make several different test stitch when I'm just starting out, because when you're looking at your zippers Some zippers are, you know, a nice 1 inch. Some are like just shy of 1 inch. And then there's some, we have zippers now that are even wider, some number 5s and things like that. So you can use those 3s and those 5s, just measure them, and then you'll need to measure your space. So here, this is a little sort of my cheat sheet that I made. So I have the outline of my piece. I have my zipper box in here, and I have a zipper in there that I was testing out to see if I had it in the right spot. Same up here, just to see if my lines are working. And on this one, they're working very well. This one I had to make some, the turquoise one, I had to make some adjustments. But it does fit. If you look from the back, you can see, let me get it this way. There we go. You can see that it fits in that space. And when we go to the machine, I'll show you that. Okay, so don't be afraid to stitch it out. You don't actually have to use a zipper. I will sometimes stitch the whole thing without the zippers in it because I don't want to waste my zippers, but I can have scrap fabric. That way I can figure out where my fabrics are going throughout the whole piece. I also printed myself a template, and then I cut it up. So I'll show you the template in the software, but I have some pieces that look like this, and then I can write some numbers on them. So you can make templates as well. Though you don't want to cut your fabric exactly like this because we're folding on an angle and it does, does that kind of weird stuff on that part of it. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go to the machine first and show you a couple things in the machine. Then we'll go to the software. I think it's easier for you guys to understand when I show you a little bit at the machine, and then I come back and we look at the software. So let me get over here and I will put it on, get this out of the way. We will put my camera on so we can see what's happening. Let's see if it's, there we go. Okay, so here we are at my machine. Now I already stitched out the placement line and then the shapes. Okay, so there's 3 shapes in here. They look kind of like this. They're kind of these 4-sided, are they? I don't know the actual, math and some of that stuff is not my high point. But once I do this, I'm going to trim in here. And I meant to get this trimmed before I started because this is where it takes half a second more to do this. So let me trim this up. And while I'm trimming, I'll talk to you guys. When I did my instructions, I did include fabric sizes at the very end. They're very generous. And I like them to be generous in the beginning because, you don't want to get over here to be stitching and find out, oh, well, that's too short. Oh, that's not going to cover. So until you see where everything goes, I'm very visual. So sometimes I have to see where everything goes before I can finalize my sizes. And I'm opening up between my shapes because this is where the zippers will go, right in here. You don't have to use batting if you don't want to. I mean, this is your zipper pouch. You can really redesign it any way you like, but I just want to show you kind of how I did it, and then you can be inspired to create your own. Each month, as you know, we're doing something different, whether we're creating a new bag. Well, right now we're working to do different zipper ways, and then we'll be starting, I think, doing some shapes. We're going to work with some different fabrics and talk about that as we go along. And I have some other creative things as well. So, and you want to get these kind of close up because your zippers are going to fit in there and you want them to lay in there very nicely. All right, so I'm going to get this back turned around. Oops, there we go. All right, so the next part of my design is putting in the zippers, and they're going to go right in here. I have 2 zippers today, one for my lower part. And again, I like these extra long zippers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hoop forward, and I'm going to bring my hoop towards me just a little bit. With a longer zipper, you can always lay the head of it outside and the other part under there. So I'm just going to lay this in here, and then I'm going to put some tape on it. And you can use the paper tape. And I also found another thing to use is the is washi tape. Sometimes that works well. I'm getting low on my tape, so I'm just going to thin this out a little bit. So make sure it fits right in between there, so it's nice and even. And then we're going to sew right over our tape today. We're not going to worry about that. This is a light tape. It comes off later. So make sure you have it centered. I didn't do a box or anything like we've done in the past because we really have a box right there. So you want to make sure, and here I didn't trim close enough, so I'm going to fix that right here. And let me see how my view is in the camera. I can't always see because it's behind me at the moment. So let's see. All right, so let's put this one in. It's going to go this way, right side up. And all is good. All right. Yeah, Patty, I can't get my camera. And my camera is kind of close, but when I get farther away, it's even harder to see. So what I did is I put this top one in that opening up here. And when we go to the software, you'll see what I'm talking about because I will show you what these three shapes are. There's three shapes in here. And let me get the other zipper in and we'll stitch that one down. All right, so you align it in your little spot like I did up here. I'm doing the lower one. Let me put my hoop back so you can see the other one's going to fit in the little opening here. I'm just going to tape it in. There we go. All right, like that. Make sure we're even. There we go. Now there are some zippers out there. I have a couple of them that are just a little narrow. And so if I use those, I have to remember to change where my lines are to stitch this down. So now it's going to stitch down all 4 sections of my zipper. So I'm going to let it do that. And then we'll come back. I did use a little, like a little zigzag on there. There we go. So that's just going to hold it in until we start putting the fabric on. And I'm okay stitching over my tape. That'll just come right off. And it's going to stitch all 4 edges of my zippers. When I show this in the software, sometimes I have all my zipper lines in different colors because when I'm first creating, I like to have those breaks between them. And I can see I'm a little crooked here, but I'm not going to worry about it today. And it's all about your trimming. I don't think I trimmed that one side very well, so I couldn't get it laid in here. So this one is laid in there fairly nice. And there's going to be fabric on top of this, so you're not going to see some of it. I used a little zigzag. You're not going to see some of that zigzag, like how that is there. Okay. Let me get my camera in the right spot here. All right. So now that it has the zippers in, the next part is putting that fabric that goes at the bottom. So that would be on the bag, that would be this fabric here. So let me get my tape off of here and then grab my scissors. Here we go. I'm not going to worry about the top one. We'll get to that one later. So the first one, we're going to put fabric that's going to lay here, be flipped up and get attached right here. But I need to add my lining piece first. And if you're following in the directions where it shows the stitching order, usually what I do is, let me find that page. When we are up to our, where did my stitching order go? I think I'm missing a page. Here we go. So I did the placement box, the tacking of the batting, the tack down of the zippers. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my hoop off, and I want to add the fabric that's going to line this bottom pocket. I'm going to take my hoop off, turn it over, and you can see where I've stitched already. I'm going to grab the fabric that goes on the back. Now this piece is kind of interesting because it's my lining piece, and it's a rather large piece. And I'll show you the reason why. Let's see if I can get my camera back. There we go. All right, a little bit more. So what's going to happen is, I have to think about this now. This piece is going to be placed on the top part of the zipper, up here like that, right side down. And what's going to happen is, I think I did that in the right direction. Nope, I didn't. It's got to be down here. It's going to be there. It's going to get stitched down, and then you're going to, after it's stitched, there'll be a point when you pull it down like this, okay? And then you have all that extra, let me get it here, and you're going to flip it back up to make that pocket down here, like that. So the important thing is to make this piece large enough, because you're going to be on that little angle. Sometimes your fabric goes to one side, and then you want to make sure you're covering this far corner when you make your pocket. So it looks weird to have it to go this way, but I'm going to put it on here, and usually I flip it over and I just double check that it's catching. I hope it's going to catch today. Sometimes when I'm talking, I can't always get everything exactly where I want them because I'm rushing just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to tape this down here like that to hold it in place. This piece I'm going to stick up here. It's going to kind of flip up the top there, and I'm going to tape it down up there so we don't have to worry about it flipping over. Here we go. Back, flip it back. Now it's up here. I can see it. I'm not going to worry about it up there. Now I need to put the fabric that's going to go here. This is my front fabric, my lower pocket fabric, and I have to find the one that I picked for that. I think that's back. I think it's this one. Maybe it's, we'll try this one. So this one would be put on here like this. It's going to get stitched down, and then I'll flip it down like this. I did make it larger because the flipping part, sometimes that's where you run out of space. If you don't have this large enough or wide enough, because you're on an angle, your fabric's coming on an angle. So this one's going to stitch here, and you just want to put it beyond your zipper just a little bit, like that. And then you can tape this down as well. All right, and we're going to put it back under here. And it's going to stitch that down. Here we go. Okay, now I'm going to pull it back. I'm not going to worry about that lining just yet. That'll come down in just a bit. All right, these are going to be those lines that get stitched across, like in my, let me just put a piece of tape on this side. And let me get my sample again. So it is stitching these diagonal lines right now. I do have my machine set at the highest speed, but the machine will only stitch as fast as it will for that area. Let's see. All right, I have one more line after this. All right, after this one stitches, I'm going to go to the software and talk a little bit, because this I think is the trickiest part. and then we'll come back. All right, so what it wants to do now is an outline around here to hold this back pocket on. So when I take this off again, here's my back pocket. I need to pull it down, put that over here. I need to bring it this way, like that, so that it covers the bottom of the design of the bag. And then I need to fold it back up to create that pocket. There we go. Let me get this. There we go. Put this down a little bit there. So I want to make sure that this is going all the way to this edge. It's going over that edge. It's covering the bottom here. And of course, on the far side, it's covering. So once that's in, I'm just going to tape it in place. And one more piece, I think, so this doesn't move on me. All right, here we go. So now it's going to stitch an outline stitch to get that pocket stitched into place. Here we go. Get my little edges down. Now it's going to tack the upper fabric, and we'll do that in just a moment. Just let me show you this because this is pretty cool. All right, it's stitched on the back. It's hard to see, it's stitched in here. But when I open up my zipper, let me hold this down because I can't. Let me get it down in the camera area. Here we go. Right under there is my pocket. Now there's stabilizer there, so I'll have to remove that later. But that's the pocket right under there. So you know it's in there. It's all in its right place. Let me get my upper fabric and we'll flip this on and then we'll go to the software. So my upper fabric, I'm using a different print. And it's going to lay here like this, be stitched down and then flipped up and then stitched here, and I'll trim it. So let's get that done. Get my hoop on. Okay, here we go. I think we're in the good spot here. And it's weird to put the fabric down here and flip it up. Usually we start at the top and bring it down, but I don't want to. You can cover this with strips of fabric if you want, but I didn't want to do it that way. I just wanted to be able to flip this up here like that. And now it's going to stitch across here. And it has its lines to do here, which I may skip those. I may just trim this so you can see that. There we go. So there'll be a fabric that will cover up this as we go. So let me show you on here. So see right here, this fabric, that's what covers up that part. This is up under there. That covers that part. So you don't have to worry about this part here. This would stitch those lines. I might not stitch them. And then what's going to happen after that is we put on the pieces that are up here. I'm going to probably move ahead when we get to that and come back so you can see the top portion of it. All right, so let's go to software and take a look there. Put this on the software. Well, let's open the software. There we go. All right, so here is my design, my pouch, and I'm going to take my grid off here. I'm going to turn it off so you can see this is what it looks like. These are guidelines right here. These pink lines, those are the guidelines, and that helps me get that angle I wanted for my shape. Okay, and they're easy to use, and I'm going to show you on another page how you use them. So the shape, let's go back to the top of this in my sequence. We've done this part. We did these 3 parts here. Okay, we've did these 2 parts here to hold on the zipper. This is the upper zipper here. This is the lower fabric. This is the upper fabric. Oh, these are the lines, those lines that are stitched. Here it's holding the pocket. Now it's holding the upper fabric, and then we did this line here. So we've stopped at this point. These are going to be the lines that would stitch across here. And then from there, we're going to do the header, the little strip, the marking for our, that go right here. These are for our D-rings. And then we're going to add our back. Then we add the batting, and then on the back side, we'll add the inside lining. Okay. All right, so let's show you, I want to show you really quick how to make these designs up here, because I think in the instructions, it's pretty clear how to create from that point. A lot of times when I'm creating, I'll make one shape and I'll use that shape to create other parts. So if I make a straight line, I'll use that line over and over again so that it's easier for me. I don't have to keep creating a line. You want to do copy and paste. If you're using duplicate, you may find out that your lines are sort of grouped together. So when they're clones. So when you do movement on one, it moves the other. So you can always right click on one of those and do detach from clones. All right, so let's do our shape. I'm going to come in here to my rectangle. I don't have my roundness on. I'm okay with that. And I'm just going to make my shape. And I don't need the fill, so I'm going to delete the fill. And then you noticed my shape kind of had an angle right here. So in order to do that, I would need to first convert to curves because I only have these top nodes. So on the top toolbar, I can come up here. Let's go to select and then convert and convert to curves. I'm going to turn my auto on so that as I build things, you can see them in my sequence window. And I'm going to touch edit nodes. So now I have my corner ones. And of course, I can drag these down like this and make that line. But one of the things I wanted to do is I used my guidelines. So down here's guidelines. And when you click on guidelines and drag, you get a line like that. When you are on this end of it, you can move it around this way. If you're on this part, this is the grabbing part, so you can move it more like that. Up here, you can set the rotation. I think I said degrees. I think it is degrees. I had mine set at 20. So that's the line that I want to follow for all my lines. So I would take this and bring it up here and make sure I'm going to start at this corner and come down. I can see this corner is not on the line. So let's get in close so you can see. See how that is? So I'm going to go to edit nodes. I'm going to select this piece here, edit nodes, and I'm going to slide this up to there. Now I know, let's go to the other end of it. Now I know, there we go, that my shape, I can continue to use that line for my shape. So it's all those other lines that I did off of that, I made one line. So here's my shape. Let's build the top shape. My other shape is up here. So I did something like this and select it. Let's make it a little bigger. We'll delete the inside. And this one, again, I need it to go this way, but I didn't want it to go straight through. I want to leave a little piece right there. So I need to go to convert to curves. This gives it the elements it needs. And I'm going to go to edit nodes, and I'm going to open up another guide. There it is. And I'm going to set that one at 20. And I'm going to move it so that it starts right in this corner right there. And I can see I need to, let me get over this way more, get to the handle. I want it to go right in that corner like that. And then I'm going to come over here and see where it intersects over there. So this is the corner. Let's go to edit nodes. This is the corner down here that I need to bring over to there. Let's see what that looks like without the grid on. Oops. You can use your shortcut to turn the grid on and off. Let's turn off that. So you can see the two shapes. And I would make the space between my two shapes be about 1 inch. And when you have your grid on, you can see what that is. We'll go back. So here you can see this is the start of my upper shape and this is the start of my lower shape because I've left those guides in there. I don't have to remove them. They will not convert over to my machine at all. I can leave them in there for the rest of the time. So they're sort of a, for me, a little prompt that I know that they're in there. So once I had those shapes, so I had these two, this is just a box at the top. So I created that box at the top here. And then I started to make my lines. So these are my lines. I'm going to ungroup these for a minute. Let's see here, ungroup. There we go. These are the lines for the zipper. And what I ended up doing is I came in here close and I used the line right here as the line I wanted to follow. So I went to my outline shape tool and I clicked right up here on this line. And actually, let me delete that. I did shift and click because I want a straight line. And then I came down here and I put it right here. Click and shape. And let's select it. I'm going to slide it down so you can see it better there. You can see it matches now that same line. So from this line, what I did is right here, I took the line, I turned it into a little bit of a zigzag. So up here you can do zigzag. You don't have to use a zigzag. And then I changed the width of it to, I think I did 4.0 mm. And then I did down here the length. I think I did 5.0. I wanted a little bit of a stretched out 1 mm, like that. Well, you can see that it's here. Let's see, it's 157. So I must have, this should be, there we go. And maybe that's wrong. But anyways, we stretched it out and then I just drag it up into place like this. And it has to go just beyond the pink line because that's the edge of that piece up here, your bottom shape, this piece right here. So I'm filling in that gap between the two pieces. Does that make sense, everyone? Hopefully. So once you get that one first line in and you figure out where you need to place it, that's going to tack your zipper down. All I do is I copy and paste again, and then I move it over here and I put it over there. And of course I have the zipper, this is my zigzag is the wrong size. So I'm just going to make it go back to none so you can see. Oops. Yes, that one. Oh, I see it's not selected. Looks selected, but it's not. Hang on. Yeah, it should be. There we go. All right. So you would create your first line. So that would be my the line that holds my zipper down. And then from there, I need a line that's going to be towards the zipper teeth that's going to hold the fabric. So I needed a line. We'll go back up to the top. We'll talk about the lines as we go down. So I have one line that's holding down the bottom edge of a zipper. That's the top edge. Then it goes to the top of my design where there's the space up here, and it puts that zipper down. Remember, it stitched that zipper. Then I'm going to go back to the bottom, and remember we put the, we turned our hoop over and we placed the lining fabric on, so it would be up here for later. And then we turned it back over and put our front fabric right sides down, but up here, and stitched this, pulled this down. Once we pulled that down, we started on these lines, and it stitched all of that. Then I turned it over and I pulled down and made my pocket. And then it stitched the upper fabric out here, and that's where we are right now at the machine. So let's go back and I'll show you a little bit further of the stitching on the machine. Pretty much you are just making lines and filling in your different spots so that whenever you want to apply a fabric, you're going to need a line to hold it down. And then you'll flip it back and you'll probably need a stitch line to hold it when you stitch it, when you pull it back. So it's just a bunch of that flipping back and forth. I'm going to skip doing this stitching here to save time. So these lines on my sample today, I'm not going to stitch, but I'm going to do this part up here because there's some pieces that you add your lining to the back at this point. So it's ready to go. And then you can just add these to the front. So let me go back to the camera and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay. So let me get my chair out of the way so I don't bump into that. Now, when you're doing the top, the header, and the strip and the lining, you have to prepare those pieces a little bit for placement. So the piece that's going to go over here, and I'm going to kind of turn my light on here. There we go. So the piece that would cover this, okay, on the front, is a strip that is folded. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. So you take your strip and you fold it in and in. Now you can put a little like wonder tape under here so that it holds this down while you stitch. I'm just going to put a little bit of my paper tape under there. It's going to be okay for today. I've used a little fusible under there too to hold it in place. You could do a little glue stick if you wanted to. Anything that you can sew through with your machine. You want to make sure you can sew through it. There are some tapes out there that are not really sewable. You really gum up your needle with them. So they're not really sewable. So I'm just going to do that to hold that down. So, and earlier when I press these, I really press these hard so they stay. You can use a little bit of, what is that, like a starch, or you can use best press, things like that. So this is going to cover the part right up here, but not on your teeth. So you would lay it up here about maybe a little bit past where my zipper tack down is, like this. I have some tape here. I'm going to remove this tape from earlier. We don't have to keep stitching over the same tape. I like sewing over the tape, but I don't like sewing over the tape. It holds it much better this way, but then you have to remove it. So sometimes that's a pain. Okay, so this is going to get taped down like this. And the only thing I didn't do were those angled lines right here. So we can skip those, that's fine. And this is going to be lined up right there. I think we got that in the right spot. Okay. And then I'm going to put what's called the header on. That piece is like this. I'm going to fold one edge under, and that is going to be placed right here along the zipper. And this is a long thread that needs to go away. There we go. So that's that top piece. So I can put a little bit of tape for that one to hold that in place. Let me get that in there too. You want to make sure you're spanning it past where you had your placement box from the beginning. All my pieces are extra wide. You don't have to do them this large, but I like to make sure I've got things covered. So this is the front. Now I need to add some lining pieces to the back. So I'm going to flip this over carefully. And see, this is not a problem because we're going to trim that away anyways. So this part comes off because there's a different lining that goes on top of this. This lining gets covered up. So we can do this with that. I'm not going to worry about that little fold. That's where your tape doesn't always hold on the back side. Now I need to add a lining piece for here and the lining that's going to cover all of this. All right. So I have two pieces for that. And I prepared them. The lining piece that's on the bottom, I folded it under, about a 1/2 inch. That's going to lay here like this, right side up. This is all going to be covered up. You're not going to see this. So I'm going to put that there. And then this is the top piece for the header. That's going to go over this like that, leaving a space for my zipper. My zipper is right in the middle there. And then I'm going to tape this down good because I'm going to flip it back over. And that's where you end up with little issues. So when you go to start your pouch, you probably will want to go back and forth between watching the video and reading my instructions so you kind of see the parts and what they are. All right, one more at the bottom here, so I'm going to have issue. There we go. All right, so I'm going to lay this back down this way. And I'm going to hook my hoop back on. And I hope, I don't think I have that in the right spot. Oh, I have to move ahead because I'm not using those. There we go. So I did the jump ahead by color. So now it's going to start the header and stitch that down. Hang on one second. Let me trim this thread. I have like a little loop there. I think I have to do a little maintenance on my machine, do a little cleaning. My cutter is not cutting as nice as it could. So I think it's probably a little thread stuck in there. So after today, I'll be taking that bobbin case out and giving it a nice brush out and clean in there. Make sure there's no stray threads. It's going to come down to do this one. And here we go. And you can make your box here, your fabric narrower if you want to. You don't have to be as wide. I have like a little flap there, but that's okay. I don't mind that. Okay, now let me just check to see what's happening over here. Are we at the right? Yeah, we are at the right picture. All right, now all of the lining is on that I need on back there. Now I need to put the back of my bag on. So that's the fabric that looks like this Janome fabric. And it's going to go right here. It's going to cover up everything. But before I do that, because it's going to sew right down here, I want to make sure that these zipper heads are in here because if they're not, then my zippers won't work. So you can undo this here and move your zipper heads back. For some reason, my fingernails are not working. I think, there we go. Okay, so let's move this one back. If you're more comfortable, when they come back here, you can put tape on those. They don't really move on me, but you can put those, lay this all back down like that. And that's gonna hold the front and the back together. So we're gonna do that one. Oh, wait, that's what I forgot the last time too. Hang on one second, let me stop this. So before you put this down, let me go back. Let's go back one, because I just added these, that's why. And we'll go forward. So right now it's going to mark where the D-rings are gonna go. So I would wanna have my D-ring fabric ready to go. And I'm gonna show you with these, but I'm not gonna put D-rings on this one. Well, maybe I could. Where's my piece? All right, so you need your 2 D-rings, and you take your strip and you fold it. This is 4 inches, and I'm gonna fold it in and in and in again, kind of like they call this like a hot dog. And then you would stitch on each side of that, but today I'm not going to stitch on each side of it. I'm just gonna, or you can put a little heat tape in there, but so much of this doesn't show, so I'm okay with it. You're gonna put it on your D-ring, and then you're gonna align your D-ring to the line like that. And you wanna make sure where the top of your, this header is, that you have the same distance for each of your D-rings. And then you're gonna put your D-rings down. So let me get them in here. Now it depends. If you put the D-ring part closer to this line, you'll have only a little loop there. I'm going to give a generous one today, just so that I don't have any problems with my needle hitting that. Those things happen when you're live, that's when you crash into stuff, your camera falls over. All those things happen when you're live. So this one's going to go here like this. And I'm kind of looking at the 2 of those to see if they're in line, and they are. Let's put one here. And this one's going to go here like that. There we go. Then I'll put my fabric back on. There we go. Now it should stitch that outer part. Let's get this all in place, and here we go. So we are almost done, and we're at 10 minutes to go. We're doing good. Now you're probably thinking, oh, there's no way to turn this bag, but I haven't finished yet. We're actually going to turn it through the lining. And once I put on the next piece, this is where you have to be careful where it goes over here. There we go. Nice. There we go. Get that going there. Now I'm going to take my hoop off one last time. And I need to add the whole back lining. So I have this part of the lining. Now I need the whole back lining. And that is going to fit right in here. I have to figure out which is the long way on my piece. This way. There we go. And I want to make sure I'm looking at the line right up here. So I want to make sure I'm over that line. It's below the line down here as well. I can move some of this tape to tape this one on because it's going to be flipped over. And get this piece. One more piece. All right, so that's my lining. And the last piece for the front is my batting that's going to go on here because the back needs batting as well. So I'm just going to grab my batting. Make sure it covers everything. There we go. And stick this back in. Once I get it done, I will trim it with my rotary cutter. But I'm not going to show you the trimming because it's boring. And then the turning. I'm going to show you where you turn it so you can see. I did make my channel, so I will have a turning channel right here. My first one, I didn't open it up enough. I'm going to go back to the software and I'll show you that. There we go. There it is. So I've showed this before, how to create that opening, the turning channel. And it's a great way because once you get your piece turned, this section slides right back in. All right, so what I'm going to do is pop this out of here really quick. Now I have these pins in the side because I'm only using a thin piece of stabilizer, and to keep it in the hoop nicely, I just put a little bit of extra on the corners. All right, let's take this out. There we go. All right. So this is that turning channel. So when I clip here, I'll just cut across here quick so you can see this part. And of course, when you do this, you can measure better for your fabrics. I did very generous fabrics, as I've said, and that's what I put in the directions, some very generous numbers, just to get you started so you know how to cover, make sure everything's covered. I hate to get going and when directions say, a 5x5 square and it barely fits because you had it crooked just a tiny little bit. So this is where I would turn it. And you can see these two are together. This is the front of my bag, so I can't turn in there. But when I come back here, this piece right here that I put on the back, this is where I would turn it, right through here. This is the lining between the front and back lining. And so I would turn it, trim it all nice, turn it through here, and then it'll expose the zipper, and then I'll just open up the stabilizer there and open my zipper, and it'll be ready to go. And I'll have to turn it one more time through the zipper. All right, so these will all kind of be stuck together. So you kind of have to look at them and go, let's see, which one is it that I need? They're all sewed together. The last two are not sewed, and this one isn't sewed. You can actually trim this if you don't want to bend that back in. But all of this will fold up in there nicely once you trim it right here. So let me show you that last thing, and then I will say my goodbyes. And I will answer all the if there's any comments, please put them in the comment section, and I'll come back to those afterwards. Let's see here if I can get my software back up. Here we go to software. All right. So to create this little part down here, we've done that before, but let me just show you really quick. We'll go over to this page here, and I'll just go off to the side here. All right. I'm going to create my shape. So let's say we had this shape here, and I'll select it. I'm going to delete the inside, leaving the outside. I have to convert to curves and select my nodes. And you can see, let's go out a little bit. You can see there's my shape. So down here is where I want to make that opening. So I'm going to, with edit node selected, I'm going to put my cursor right here in the center and right click on it. And right down here, you'll see split outline. So I'll split the outline. Then I'll come over here and I'll right click again and I'll do add a node. And then if you click back on it, you can get a cusp, which is a square. You really want the squares. And then I'll do the same thing over here, add a node, click again, do a cusp, Now you can grab these little things and just pull them down like that. Of course, you would make them nice and straight coming down. So now you have your opening. Very simple, very simple. All right, so I think I showed you all the little parts that might give you trouble. I'm going to put the camera back on. And let's see here if I can find it. There we go. All right. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to do your pouches. If you have any questions, you can find me over there on the Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page, or even I'm always on the classroom page or the Continental page. You can always find me there. Just post a question with my name and I can answer it there, or I'll come back and answer anything that's in the comments. So here is our bag, and I'm going to show you this really quick. So here is where I turned it in the lining, right here. This one was way too small. I would pull it back through and show you, but it's a little tiny one. So I pulled it through and it looked like this. And there was stabilizer right here. So I opened that stabilizer. That's why your zipper is halfway. I opened my zipper, flipped this out, then just flipped the rest of it out. And then I said, oh my. That's when I said, oh my, I forgot to put my D-rings on there because I thought I'd remember, but then I realized I really need to put those little marks in there so it reminds me what I'm doing. There we go. And if you want, you can put loops on the sides. You just have to lay those in before you put this back piece on. All right, those D-rings, any loops, those things would all go on just before you put this on. Okay. All right. So here you go, everybody. Enjoy. Make sure you post your bags that you make. You can either put them in the comments with this video, or you can go put them on our classroom page. You can post them to the Janome Artistic Digitizer page, or even the Continental Club page. So thank you for joining me today. I know we go long when I have a zipper pouch, but I'm sure you don't mind. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you again. Thank you for joining me.